Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and this is news and politics from around the world for Friday, January the 24th, 2025. We start off with an article from ProPublica. Madison and Nashville school shooters appear to have crossed paths on extremist communities. A month after a student opened fire at the Abundant Life Christian School, another killed a classmate at Antioch High School. Both were active in an internet subculture that glorifies mass shooters and encourages young people to commit attacks. Moments before the 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow opened fire inside her Madison, Wisconsin school, killing 2 people and herself last month, a social media account believed to be hers posted a photograph on X showing someone sitting in a bathroom stall and flashing a hand gesture has become a symbol for white supremacy. As news of the shooting broke, another X user responded, "Live stream it." Extremism researchers now believe the second account belonged to 17-year-old Solomon Henderson, who police say walked into his high school cafeteria in Nashville, Tennessee on Wednesday and fired 10 shots, killing 1 classmate and then himself. Archives of another X account linked to him show that he posted a similar photo to Rupnow's in his final moments. So, yeah. Welcome to the way the world is going. And because this is the subculture of stupidity the right has fostered. Also from ProPublica. North Carolina sued the Interior Department at least 5 times under Governor Doug Burgum. Now he's set to run the agency. Because of course he is, because that's how Trump works. He don't like, agencies doing their job, so let the evil people that get pushback from the agencies run them. That's his whole fucking agenda. Fuck that cocksucker. From the lever. The Supreme Court case that got us here. 15 years ago, the Supreme Court Citizens United decision ushered in a new era of corporate dominance over politics. 15 years ago this week, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a ruling that fundamentally changed American politics. In a 5-4 judgment in Citizens United versus the Federal Elections Commission. I think it's Federal Elections Commission, or it might be... No, it's the Federal Elections Commission. The court struck down restrictions in corporate spending in elections and paved the way for the mountains of dark money in our politics today. But there's more. But that's all I'm going to read of it. This has been a shit decision for a fucking long ass time. From inequality.org. Does a new roaring 20s now beckon? In the 1920s, America's economy boomed for the rich and then busted the nation into the Great Depression. Will Trump 2 and crypto now deliver a repeat? Life in the United States has never been better if your personal fortune stretches well into the thousands of millions. Our new year has dawned with 813 Americans cavorting in billionaire land. These deep pockets ended 2024, notes an Institute for Policy Studies Analysis, with a combined wealth over $6.7 trillion. They averaged over 8.2 billion each. Need some perspective on that $8.2 billion? The typical American worker in the latest U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics would have to work over 136,000 years to just earn that much. Billionaires, of course, don't have to actually do any labor to collect their billions. They just let their money do the heavy lifting. Because we are back in a new Gilded Age, because the rich fucking run and control everything, and I'm tired of it. We need to end these fucks. If there's one thing you should be willing to do, it's take a baseball bat to billionaires and their property. They are evil more than anything. I think that should be legal because, hell, it's them who cause more deaths than people like Luigi Mangione who just shot one guy. It's the billionaires who make so much that it should be a felony. I'm just so sick of the bullshit. From the Appalachia subreddit, possible ICE raids coming to Appalachia cities, Asheville in North Carolina, Knoxville in Tennessee. Stay safe. If you see ICE, the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, verify their identity and purpose, confirming with others or by looking at their uniform that what you see is ICE. Call your local Rapid Response Network hotline and report what you see. Document, record, or take photos of what you are seeing. Take note of the time, date, and the exact location of the encounter. Spread awareness. Once you verify that ICE is there and that what they are there for, you can share the information along with everything you've documented. Please make sure to only share verified information. This ensures that we don't create any unnecessary stress, fear, or anxiety. Yeah. Honestly, ICE is equivalent to government control gangs. Now, this is also from the Appalachia Reddit. It is a map that shows how beautiful is your state. And they have the little key down here. The blues are often seen as peak scenery. The green as beautiful scenery. Orange as decent scenery. And red, not a looker. The only red is right here in the center of the country. A lot of corn and then, yeah. Just very dull land. Blue, often considered great. Southern Florida like Miami. All Hawaii is considered, peak beauty. Alaska, peak beauty. This little portion of Texas here. And then you have a lot of the Northeast as you come down just to the western portion of the Appalachians up there. So yeah, I live right in here, so my area is considered peak beauty. There's a lot of places that are still beautiful, coastlines in Northeast, up through here into Ohio, parts of Michigan, great portion of Wisconsin. The northeastern portion of Minnesota is considered gorgeous. A lot of your western states, your Utahs, your Idahos, your Nevadas, a majority of Oregon, they're all considered gorgeous. You do have some that are less so. Arizona is still considered beautiful. The southern half's not quite as beautiful as the northern half, but still gorgeous. Same with New Mexico. The northwestern corner, gorgeous. A good portion of the rest of the state is very pretty. The eastern border is kind of As with Texas, the majority of it's just nothing really to look at. California, mostly gorgeous. This little center right here is just considered kind of blah. Nice looking, and then, like I said, the rest gorgeous. Your western and northern portions of Washington State, gorgeous. And then, of course, western Montana, western Wyoming, western Colorado, all considered gorgeous. And other parts of them are still like considered, hey, they're still good looking. Now there are a couple parts of Montana, like I said, eastern portions of Colorado, New Mexico. Yeah, Iowa, unfortunately, but that's because it's all flat land and a lot of corn. But yeah, there's some beautiful land. Usually your mountain areas, like the Ozarks in here, your Arkansas into Missouri, parts of Texas, good looking places. Right here is considered gorgeous, this little area right here on the Arkansas Missouri border. Most of your Appalachians considered gorgeous. There are parts where it's like still looks good, but yeah, this you'll notice how it goes from here into the Smokies, into Southwest Virginia, and through a great portion of West Virginia, a little bit of Maryland up in here, into western Pennsylvania, and then it kind of gets into northern New York, Vermont, most of New Hampshire, and Maine. Even with other parts of the New England states, they're considered still good looking. They may not be as gorgeous as some of the rest, but still good. So when you get down here into places like parts of New Jersey and uh, Philadelphia area, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., yeah, it's like, eh. You just have that string that goes like this, sweeps across. Florida, right there, the only place that's really considered absolutely gorgeous is southern Florida. Like I said, that's Miami and such areas. The borders of the state's considered pretty good looking because you are on beaches and everything. But then the inside of the state is like, yeah. You go through here and you go up through here, circle around. Like I said, Ozarks apparently are pretty beautiful. A lot of your mountain ranges in the U.S., you'll notice, often are considered gorgeous. The Appalachians, the Ozarks, and then of course you got your Rockies. Sierras and all the little mountain ranges connected to the Rockies. So yeah. But I thought it was an interesting bit of data to look at there. From the subreddit History Ask Historians. Could Americans legally own cannons under the Second Amendment under the Revolution? If so, when was it decided that, e.g., artillery is acceptable in private hands? I heard that the Second Amendment initially allowed individuals to bear all kinds of arms, not only guns. Is it true? Could one, for example, purchase a cannon and explosive shrapnels for it? If the premise of the question holds, when was it banned? And when new weapons like, e.g., anti-tank missiles came, were there ever serious attempts to legalize them for public use on these grounds? So, in the responses here, first response holds, and this is apparently someone who deals with revolutionary America and early American religion. After the American Revolution, Americans could legally own cannons under the Second Amendment. Back then, the amendment was pretty broadly interpreted. Basically, arms meant any kind of weapon, and that included big stuff like cannons. It wasn't unusual for private citizens, militias, or even private ships to own heavy artillery. I addressed how important firearms were to militias here. Back in the 18th century, there weren't laws saying, hey, no cannons for you regular folks, because private ownership of serious firepower was normalized at the time. Private cannon ownership was a thing. Believe it or not, people really did own cannons in the 18th and early 19th century. Wealthy landowners sometimes had them for local defense or even just ceremonial purposes. Local militias often had their own cannons too. Private ships, especially privateers, were hugely popular. These were civilian-owned ships that got government permission via something called the Letter of Marque to attack enemy ships. They had to arm themselves, which meant, you guessed it, cannons. The government actually encouraged this back then. Encouraged this because back then the U.S. didn't have a massive navy. So private citizens helped pick up the slack. In 1791, the same year the Bill of Rights was ratified, the U.S. military was extremely small. The U.S. Army had fewer than 1,000 soldiers at the start of the year, and they were mainly tasked with defending the western frontier against Native American tribes, though it began to expand to around 3,000 to 4,000 troops by year's end, due to a number of ongoing conflicts. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy didn't exist at all, as the Continental Navy had been disbanded after the Revolutionary War, leaving the country relying on merchant ships and coastal militias for maritime defense. This minimal military force shows the early republic's focus on local militias and its cautious approach to maintaining federal power, and why personal firearm ownership was so protected. So what changed? Over time, the government got better at defending the country on its own, and the idea of everyone owning military-grade weapons started to seem less necessary and obviously kind of dangerous. By the mid-19th century, the mid-1800s, attitudes shifted. There wasn't one specific law that said no more cannons, but restrictions on heavy weapons started to creep at the state level as weapons got more advanced. Fast forward to the 20th century, the 1900s, the laws like the National Firearms Act of 1934 came into play. While that law mostly targeted machine guns and sawed-off shotguns, it helped establish the idea that not every weapon was fair game for civilians. As weapons became more destructive, like modern artillery or tanks, the government started to crack down even more. And they've got a response to add. In most places in the U.S., you can still, today, legally purchase or home manufacture a muzzle-loading cannon or mortar for personal use without any involvement from any level of government. And they reply to that, indeed, high explosive munitions are unlawful under many different laws, but owning a black powder cannon is very legal and very cool. Some reenactors of the Civil and Revolutionary Wars bring their own artillery. From what I understand, it is legal to fire a cannonball, although finding a safe place to do so may be challenging. I think grape shot might be considered a weapon of mass destruction under the NFPA, National Firearms Protection Act, or something like that, maybe. I'm not sure what it stands for, but and then they get a reply. Can confirm regarding reenactors, my sportsman's club has an artillery team which puts our demonstrations at club events at the 600-yard range. And then we got a following reply from someone with the mark of quality contributor. People should note the 600-yard range. A 2-inch iron ball weighing a little over a pound and boosted by black powder will travel a very long distance and have a lot of energy when it hits, even if it's slow to the point you can watch it fly by. Even small bore artillery needs room. And then they replied, yes, indeed, our club requires members to qualify to use the 600-yard range, and additional qualifications are needed to shoot artillery. But yeah, they get some more conversation on that. So, yeah. I'll let you all read that on your own time, because I will have it in the description box below the video. Now, let's get into some more stats here, or I'm not sure where I got this article, but anyway, restoftheworld.org. TikTok refugees drove a global Xiaohongshu boom. People far beyond the short-lived ban's reach are downloading Red Note in droves. In 42 non-Western countries, the app ranked in the top 3 spots on the charts at some point between January 13th and January 21st. Analysts say the surge reflects the importance of the U.S. market in setting a cultural zeitgeist. So yeah. Now, okay, let's look at some stats here. The U.S. median individual wage by characteristic using 2024 information. The graphic was created in Excel, all data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and usual weekly earnings of wage and salary workers for the fourth quarter of 2024. This is for full-time workers only and is individual, not household. So, we have in gray the first one there. That is everybody. What average individual full-time workers get. $64,368. Then it shows men and women's difference. Men, on average, get $67,704, so a little over the normal, while women get a good portion under the normal at an average of $56,316. According to age groups, 16 to 19-year-olds make an average of $35,308 working a full-time job. 20 to 24-year-olds make an average of $40,768 working a full-time job. 25 to 34-year-olds make an average of $59,072 working a full-time job. 35 to 44-year-olds make an average of $70,512. It's often considered the prime working years because that's the highest average by age group. It drops a little bit when you look at 45 to 54-year-olds to $69,472. Drops a little bit more when you look at 55 to 64-year-olds, $65,936, and then it drops a moderate amount when you're looking at 65 years or older to $60,268. So yeah. Now, let's look at education. If you have no high school education, you average around $40,352. That's given you have no high school degree or anything. If you've at least graduated high school, it jumps it to about $10,000 more to $50,804. If you've got at least an associate's or some college, which would be my range, you can average to $56,672. I was almost at a bachelor's degree, which jumps you way up to $80,444. And if you have an advanced degree like a master's or a PhD, you're usually looking at $98,488 on average. Now, let's look at racial differences. If you're white, on average, you make $62,764. So pretty close to the national average. If you're black, you make a moderately less amount at $54,080. If you're Asian, you make the most of any race group with $78,364. And if you're Hispanic, you make the lowest at an average amount of $47,840. So yeah, this gives us a look at how the different descriptors change wage. But yeah. Education, the more you have, the better you're likely to get. Age, usually around that 35 to 44 is going to be your best earning time. It drops a little bit in 10 years later, a little bit more 10 years later, and a little bit more 10 years later. Although it's even still less than any of those if you're 10 years before the 35 to 44 range. Men get paid more than women by a pretty strong difference there. Almost 10,000. No, actually 11,000. So yeah, there's quite a difference between men and women in the way they get paid. If we really wanted to make changes to bring about more equality, women and men should get paid on average the same, and the different races should get roughly the same. I ain't going to say that there won't be differences. These things do happen, but true equality would show a roughly even different amount. But there's clear difference that needs to be addressed. Now, let's look at how Johnson and Johnson, close that, how Johnson and Johnson make money. They've got a chart here. This is from Johnson&Johnson Investor Relations, is where the source is from. For the fiscal year 2024 income statement, year ending December the 29th, 2024. Now, immunology. Let's see. The revenue is the gray, which is to the left. The green and red is cost, operating. Yeah. Well, no, it's a bit different because I got the red is your cost stuff. Green is profit. And it looks like over on the left side is what's gained. But you see all the different costs that they incur over on the right. Pharmaceuticals. In immunology, they make $17.6 billion. Infectious diseases, they make $3.4 billion. Neuroscience, pharmaceuticals. So pharmaceuticals are all your medicines. So immunology, infectious diseases. Neuroscience, they make 7.1 billion. Oncology, 20.8 billion. Pulmonary, with your heart, 4.3 billion, and other pharma, 3.6 billion. So your biggest draws are oncology and immunology. And all together with the medicines they make $57 billion. Now, medical devices that they made it with interventional medical devices, $7.7 billion. Orthopedics, $9.2 billion. Surgery, $9.8 billion. And vision, $5.1 billion in medical devices, with an altogether total of $31.9 billion. So they make almost double in medicine than they do in devices, with a total revenue stream of $88.8 billion. That stream, the cost of revenue, $37.5 billion, or $27.5 billion. In process research and development, $0.2 billion. So, 2 million. Restructuring, $0.2 billion. Okay. There's the cost of revenue, and then it goes the gross profit. And that's where you get your in-process research and development, your restructuring, others that you pull from your gross profit, that add to it, I should say. $4.7 billion. Research and development in general, $17.2 billion. And SG&A, I'm not sure. Is that something like study groups and analysis or something like that? I'm not sure what it stands for, but $22.9 billion. So you have gross profit, $61.4 billion. And again, your biggest contributor to that is the SG&A and R&D. Now, you have, from that, you have also in the above it, you have interest income, $0.6 billion, $6 million. So that's added to the operating profit, which is $16.7 billion, which goes to taxes. $2.6 billion goes, and net profit, $14.1 billion goes. So 88.8 billion, 27.5%, or 27.5 billion goes to cost of revenue, which is separate. I'm assuming that's things like the storefronts and other things such as that. Yeah. And then you've got gross profit. And that's a great majority of it spent here in these things. 22 plus 17 is 39. Plus 4 is 43. And then you have these percentages here, 40, almost a 44. Pretty close. 45. A little over 45. And then you add the 27. 60. 7. 50, 60, 70. I suck at math. I'm not going to pretend I'm good at it. But yeah. Anyway. Business chart for Johnson&Johnson. Now, let's get into the things I'm a little more comfortable with. History. This is an image from a People's Pharmacy in Washington, D.C. around 1920. I don't know if it was just a regional chain or a single store or what, but yeah. You can see how it looked. This is 1920, 100 years ago, how they appeared. Next, we have a B-17G Fortress aircraft named the Pistol Packin' Mama of the 91st Bomb Group, 324th Bomb Squadron, based at RAF Bassingbourn, England, 1944. And there she is, the picture of her. She and the person who took the picture were clearly already in flight. So yeah. Image: King Victor Emmanuel III of Italy and his son Umberto, aged 11, during a visit to the Italian front in World War I in 1916. So yeah, King Umberto, and there's his son. Here we have an image. Vietnamese refugee returning to Hue with his children in 1968. Yeah, right there's one child, and right there's the other. I don't know if he's got another child in on his back and what he's carrying there, so, but he probably does. And finally, we have an image. Canadian Prime Minister Jean Chrétien choking anti-poverty protester Bill Clinton, February the 15th, 1996. Usually Canadians are seen as all good and happy, but clearly there's some that have impulse issues. Anyway, from WTTW PBS affiliate, um, Secret Service, not ICE agents, turned away from back of Yards Elementary School. Okay, so it's a Chicago affiliate. Secret Service agents, not immigration agents, attempted to conduct an enforcement action at Hamline Elementary School in the back of the yards, officials said late Friday. Chicago Public Schools officials initially said in a statement that the agents were part of the Immigration and Custom Enforcement. But a statement from the Secret Service said they were investigating a threat against an official they are charged with protecting. Some of the officials you protect deserve threats. From CBC, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, Canadian freighter with 17 people on board remains stuck on Lake Erie near Buffalo, New York. It's one of the Great Lakes, which one part borders Canada, the other part borders New York in the U.S. So, the Manitoulin was headed back to Sarnia, Ontario after dropping off a load of wheat. But apparently now it is stuck. From Reuters, U.S. agents raid New Jersey work site as Trump escalates immigration crackdown. Newark mayor calls raid unconstitutional. Immigration agents call it a targeted enforcement operation. Trump signed executive orders to crack down on illegal immigration, but it's capturing a lot of legal immigrants and even some U.S. citizens. Yeah, so fuck Trump. From the BBC, U.S. issues pause on foreign aid, leaked memo says. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has previously said the U.S. should not only spend abroad if it makes America stronger, safer, or more prosperous. From the BBC, IDF said bombed apartments were Hezbollah base, but most killed were civilians. You know, typical Israel bullshit. Julia Ramadan was terrified. The war between Israel and Hezbollah was escalating, and she had a nightmare that her family home was being bombed. Then she sent her brother a panicked voice note from her apartment in Beirut. He encouraged her to join him in Ain el-Delb, a sleepy village in southern Lebanon. It's safe here, he assured her. Come stay with us until things calm down. You know, Israel's nothing but a demonic country at this point. They do nothing but attack and hurt people. From NBC News, Mexico refuses to accept a U.S. deportation flight. The Mexican government has criticized Donald Trump's unilateral immigration actions, and the landing would have required Mexico's assistance, which they're not going to give. So yeah. From Common Dreams, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. The Democrats must be brawlers for the working class to counter Trumpism. Yes, duh. Quit taking big donor money. And it's not saying the Republicans are any better. Look at the big money donors he got from the three richest people in the world. Three of the richest people in the world. Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos. So yeah, don't give me that crap that there for the people. That's bullshit too. One of the things that we need to do is talk to people directly, said the Congresswoman. There needs to be Democrats who walk the walk and talk the talk. I say the Democratic Party needs to end, Republican Party needs to end. Either that, or we need whole new parties to force coalitions. Salon says Trump White House press secretary took hundreds of thousands of dollars in illegal campaign contributions. Carolyn Levitt hid hundreds of thousands in campaign debt from illegal donations, according to a new report. Oh! From The Guardian. Anti-Trump protests sweep the globe on Inauguration Day in pictures. So they got a bunch of pictures from Trump protests worldwide. People worldwide take the streets after Trump was sworn in as president on Monday. Yeah, there's a lot of them here. This one is from New York City. This one is Mexico City. This one is London, England. This one is also London, England. This one's Panama City, Panama. This one is Brussels, Belgium. This one is Washington, D.C. This one is Mexico City, Mexico. This one is London, England. This one's Washington, D.C. This one's New York City. This one is New York City. Yeah. Trump's not a liked person. From Salon. Executive orders show Trump is already running Project 2025 playbook despite his denials during his campaign. Trump distanced himself from Project 2025 during the campaign, but implemented many of the proposals in the first week. From LGBTQ Nation. Donald Trump orders trans women inmates to be housed with men. There will be rapes. Trans inmates are in a panic about what could happen to them. He don't give a shit. His supporters don't give a shit. They're evil fucks. From The Guardian, Trump gives ICE power to deport immigrants who came legally under Biden. So yeah, legal immigrants. Like I said, they've been arresting. They're not just going after illegal immigrants. They're going after legal immigrants. They're going after citizens. U.S. citizens have been arrested on this. So yeah, this fucking shit needs to end, Trump. ICE given unprecedented authority to expedite deportations as U.S. cities face raids and troops arrive at the U.S.-Mexico border. From the AP, Trump's new Justice Department leadership orders a freeze on civil rights cases. Donald Trump's new Justice Department leadership has put a freeze on civil rights litigation and suggested it may reconsider police reform agreements negotiated by the Biden administration, according to two memos obtained Wednesday by the Associated Press. Attorneys in the department's Civil Rights Division were ordered not to file any new complaints, amicus briefs, or other certain court papers until further notice. See, they don't give a shit about treating the people right. Honestly, this fucking administration needs to go the fucking way of the dodo. Also from the AP, Supreme Court will weigh approval for the U.S.'s first publicly funded religious charter school in Oklahoma. Boo, you sons of bitches! Public funds should only go to public schools! Fuck you, you cocksuckers! The Supreme Court agreed Friday to take on a new culture war despite a dispute whether the nation's first publicly funded religious charter school should be allowed to open in Oklahoma. Fuck no, it shouldn't. It should be closed, and the idea should be kicked the fuck out the door. This is from SciPost. Harsh parenting linked to poor emotional and social outcomes in children. New research has found that children whose parents were moderately or very harsh tended to exhibit worse emotion regulation, lower self-esteem, and more peer relationship problems. They also scored lower on pro-social behavior scales. The paper was published in the Journal of Affective Disorders. So yeah. From The Verge, Free Our Feeds wants to build a social media ecosystem resistant to billionaire influence. The project aims to raise $30 million to develop a social ecosystem atop Blue Sky's AT protocol. Absolutely. We need something that's free of these billionaire monsters and getting their fingers in everything. From The Guardian, tens of thousands in Slovakia protest against the Prime Minister's shift towards Russia. Around 60,000 people gather in Bratislava to oppose Robert Fico's policy moves, with rallies also held in 20 other cities. Now, let's go ahead and look at some video clips here. Zionist spits on a Christian father who was going peacefully with his son. Another Zionist pepper sprayed him in the eyes. No surprise, Zionists are evil fucks. Look, right here. The man in black, boy in yellow, they're just walking along. And look at this. Look at this. Here we go. It's like, look, dude, I'm trying to... Why? And he starts this bullshit. This Zionist fuck does. Like I said, it gets harder and harder to sympathize with Israel. And they pepper sprayed him before they left. You can see him trying to cover his eyes. Fuck goddamn Israel shitbag sons of bitch Zionists. If you're peaceful, if you don't want part of the fucking evil that's enacted upon fucking Israel, fucking show who you are. There's ultra orthodox who are like, look, we should not have a home. Israel's not supposed to be rebuilt just for us. The city of Verona, Wisconsin decided to fly the pride flag at its city center and municipal buildings for an entire year in protest of Trump's presidency. Good on you. That's what you need to do.
Right now, Verona is taking the symbolic step of flying the Progress Pride flag for the entire year. It's partly a protest of the Trump administration. JT Siskowski asked Verona's mayor if the city is planning any more direct resistance to the federal government.
Verona Mayor Luke Diaz tells me that the city is trying to actively avoid picking any fights with the incoming Trump administration because the city still wants to receive subsidies and grants from the federal government. But he says recognizing marginalized communities with the Progress Pride flag was not an area he was willing to compromise. The flag's presence outside of the Verona City Center and other municipal buildings is a direct reaction to the incoming Trump administration, Diaz says.
Powerful people clearly targeting the community, and I think that can send a message to people who might, also want to target that community that this is okay, that's acceptable, and this is our chance to push back on it.
At this December meeting, the Verona Common Council voted to display the Progress Pride flag for an entire year. The meeting drew more than an hour of public comments from both those in favor of flying the flag and those against doing so. At its meeting Monday, the council voted to update its flag policy, ensuring it can fly the flag at any time it wants, in case an anti-LGBTQ administration takes power in Wisconsin. The state government and other communities usually only fly the flag during Pride Month. An entire year is a bolder move. I asked Diaz if Verona is capable of taking action to protect marginalized communities. He says yes.
But hopefully we'll be in a coalition with a bunch of other cities, counties, and the state pushing back on discriminatory policies if we have to.
Have those conversations underway at all?
Maybe.
In Verona, I'm JT Siskowski.
Absolutely. You know how petty and pathetic dumb fuck Trump is. He'll probably get angry and say, these evil nests. For him, everybody who says something not common sense is evil and nasty. These evil and nasty people in Verona are fucking defying me. Time to end that. And that's, I almost guarantee that's going to be his fucking behavior, because that's the way he fucking is. Well, Trump, fuck you and fuck you again, you sack of shit. You fucking garbage bag. Yeah, he can go and fuck himself. From Mississippi bill to offer bounty hunters $1,000 for each undocumented migrant that is deported. Like I said, we need to go ahead and just melt down the Statue of Liberty now, because we're no longer here to show kindness to those who come seeking refuge, who come seeking a new chance, a new home. Let's go and just melt down the Statue of Liberty, because that's who we fucking are at this point.
Certified bounty hunters to assist in identifying and reporting undocumented immigrants was introduced in the Mississippi House of Representatives. The bill, proposed by the DeSoto County District Attorney and authored by State Rep. Justin Keene, would create the Mississippi Illegal Alien Certified Bounty Hunter Program. This program would offer a $1,000 reward to registered bounty hunters for each successful deportation they help facilitate.
I think there should be a bounty out there for Republicans because they're evil fucks. Okay. ICE showed up at an elementary school in Chicago, but Trump's chief hate monger, Stephen Miller, says there's no sanctuary.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents showed up at Hemline Elementary School. School staff followed CPS established protocols. They kept ICE agents outside of the school and contacted CPS's law department and CPS's Office of Safety and Security for further guidance. The ICE agents were not allowed into the school and were not permitted to speak to any students or staff members.
There's no sanctuary for criminal aliens in this country, nor is there a sanctuary for child trafficking, for child smuggling, or for child endangerment. ICE officers will take the actions necessary to protect the lives and safety of our children and to identify individuals who are involved in the smuggling and trafficking of our children. In order to conduct this investigation, in order to protect the safety and security of children all across America.
Fuck you, you cocksucking son of a bitch, lying fucktard motherfucker, you fat ass fucktard cocksucking bastard. Go fuck yourself. I've got no sympathy for fucking right-wing fucktards. Israel destroying infrastructure in Jenin in the West Bank. Not a surprise, but yeah, here we go. Just tearing up roads. Ripping things up. Every motherfucker, from the IDF to the goddamn government, who approves of this shit needs to be dragged before the Hague. Fuck their goddamn fucking pathetic, evil son of a bitch asses. Motherfuckers. Patriot Front leader Thomas Rousseau gets defensive after being called a feds in Washington, D.C. outside of March for Life event. I'm not sure a feds, unless they were just calling him a fed or called him and his people feds, if that's what they're insinuating, I'm guessing.
Pages and a lot of hoolah about nothing. Again, people who want us to be feds and want everything about us to be automatic, everything we do is somehow justification of feds. Whether we get arrested, we're feds. We don't get arrested, we're feds. We wear masks, we're feds. We're unmasked, we're feds. People will see anything to prove that we're feds. I don't know if we actually were some big federal thing. Why would the FBI do that? I guess. You know?
It had a lot of those redactions were about the identities of CHSs, right? Which seems to imply that you guys have not that you are feds, but there are feds among you.
No, and it's hard to determine the specifics of that because again, you're arguing on the basis of information that is absent, and there are a lot of connections which would need to be evaluated based on information present. And also, it should be noted that somebody who speaks to the FBI about a certain matter doesn't necessarily have to be from a certain source. I mean, that's anybody who they found relevant on anything. I mean, it's 1,000 pages or something to that effect. But you look at the general things. You look at what we know the FBI does when they want to mess with a group, when they want to get into a group. What do? It's drugs, guns, and violence. They get people to sell drugs, they get people to buy guns, or they get people to be violent. And if we were an organization that was controlled by or heavily influenced by federal agents, why aren't we doing any of those things? Not only why aren't we doing them, but why are we so heavily disciplined in preventing anything of that nature from happening, right? So, you can argue that, the FBI, they'll try to mess with groups. Of course they will. You can argue that they'll try to interfere with things. Of course they will. But it's not a proper response to that reality of the political landscape to shut yourself off and become, a hermit as the world gets worse and worse. Political organizing is something that needs to be undertaken.
This just says Dublin, Ireland. So let's take a look at it here. Okay, so it's dealing with the way Israelites are treating Palestinians. Israel itself is treating Palestinians. Mothers Against Genocide. Yep. So, yeah. UN reports that Israeli soldiers have forcibly expelled over 2,000 families from Jenin, a camp with a population of around 22,000. A video below shares the story of a displaced woman.
بس والله رغم كل شيء يعني في ناس طلعت يعني قليل جدا امبارح بس في ناس لسه كانت صامده لا اجبرونا عن جد نحن اليوم نطلع احنا ما بدنا نطلع انا عندي كناين واربع طوابق اولادي وكناين واطفال واحفادي وكلهم كلياتنا في الدار لليوم وانا اقول لجوزي بدناش نطلع خلينا شو ما يخفش بس اجبرونا وهم ينادوا بدكم تطلعوا اليوم هلا معكم 10 دقائق تكونوا جاهزين تطلعوا.
Talking about the trouble she had being forced out. Finally, Sagakia explains Trump's Native Americans' birthright citizenship trap. Yeah, I mean, they're born here. That makes them citizens. But of course, Trump is an evil fucktard, so he don't care.
In my last video, I commented I would not be surprised that the next thing he comes after is tribal treaty. And I stand corrected. Now the Trump administration is questioning Native American birthright citizenship in court. What does that mean? Quoting the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States or of the state they reside in. The key sentence, subject to jurisdiction thereof, where they are citing the Civil Rights Act of 1866. All persons born in the United States and not subject to any foreign power, excluding Indians not taxed, are hereby declared to be citizens of the United States. Using Elk versus Wilkins, because members of Indian tribes owe immediate allegiance to their tribes, they are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are not constitutionally entitled to citizenship. So, according to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that would mean that if we were to denounce our tribal affiliation, then we would be considered U.S. citizens by the government. And what happens if we theoretically denounce all of our tribal affiliation? There would be no tribes to be recognized. Therefore, treaties would be void, and he could get his hands on tribal protected lands. I will never denounce my tribal affiliation. That is nuts. let me know what you guys think.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. Like I've already said, Trump's an evil, evil monster. I don't understand how anybody could vote for him. I hear a lot of people, oh, he was a good Lord President Biden. Guess what? He ain't going to be able to change anything. And he isn't willing to change anything. You're an idiot if you believed him. You are a full-fledged moron. But yeah, we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing. Ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting links in the description below the video description box below the video as always. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.